Broadcasting live from the Garden State, it's Real Sports Talk with Kenny Kluska on the Damage 365 Radio Network.
Welcome, everybody, to episode number 63 of Real Sports Talk with Kenny Kluska. Of course, I'm your host, Kenny Kluska. I'm like, hey, what's up below here as a part of the Damage 365 Radio Network. And wow, did I really just see what just happened? Of course, the Minnesota Vikings-Seattle Seahawks game started at 1 o'clock. Seahawks had a 10-9 lead. Minnesota drives the ball down to about the 10-yard line, setting up kicker Blair Walsh for a 27-yard field goal. Went wide left, just pushed it to the left. So what is seen as a chip shot field goal, which looked like it would give Minnesota a 2-point lead with about 25 seconds left. Instead, goes left. Heartbreak for the fans at Minnesota who, braved the elements as the temperature was in the negatives. I believe at kickoff, the wind chill factor was at negative 25 degrees. But, they still wanted to support their team. They held a 9-0 lead going into the fourth quarter. Doug Baldwin, what has he done all year? Caught a touchdown pass. Stephen Hauschka, I believe, kicked a 46-yard field goal. Gave Seattle that 10-9 lead, but it looked like Minnesota would have the chance to take the lead with minimal time. Instead, field goal is pushed left, somewhat of a chip shot. Seattle Seahawks move on, and they will wait and see who they have to play. Actually, they know who they have to play. They're the 6th seed, so they will be playing the number 1 seed in the NFC, the Carolina Panthers. So definitely should be an entertaining game. Panthers went, 14 games without losing before finally losing to the Atlanta Falcons in the second to last week of the season. And then we got the Seattle Seahawks, who struggled to start the season but ended very strongly, finishing with a 10-6 record. They are the 2-time defending NFC champions. So, definitely looked like one of the more dangerous teams going into the playoffs. Last week before this one, they blew out the Arizona Cardinals, who, were looking like pretty much the best team in the NFL. So, they're a scary team, and that should be an entertaining game in Carolina. So, we have 3 of the 4 games set for the next round. There's still 1 game remaining in the opening round that will take part in approximately half an hour, 4:40 p.m. Eastern Time start. The Green Bay Packers at the Washington Redskins. That game will be airing on Fox. The winner of that game will take on the Cardinals in the NFC semifinals. Definitely, another good game. Should be. The Redskins are favored by 1 point in today's game. Both teams kind of trending in opposite directions going into the game, because the Redskins have won 4 in a row. The NFC East was a butt of a lot of jokes throughout much of the season, all 4 teams in the NFC East, the Redskins, Eagles, Giants, and Cowboys, were under 500. But with the Redskins 4 wins in a row, they were able to improve to 9-7 with a winning record going into the playoffs, winning the NFC East, thus getting a opening round home game. During that 4-game winning streak, they've averaged 33 points per game since the 2-4 start. They're 7-3. Kirk Cousins, not going into the season, wasn't really seen as a guy that could lead a team But this season, was spectacular, especially towards the second half for Cousins. He's expected to get a long-term deal probably after the playoffs to be the Redskins quarterback for the foreseeable future. He broke Jay Schroeder's record for most passing yards by a Redskins quarterback. So Redskins were one of the big surprises in the NFL. Jordan Reed, one of the better tight ends. Matt Jones will be out for the Redskins for today's game. We'll see a lot more of Alfred Morris, who, was looking like a great running back, but lost some playing time to Matt Jones this season. Packers, on the other hand, they have lost 2 in a row. They lost last week to the Vikings in a game that was to decide the NFC North. That's why the Vikings just had the home game today, which, as I mentioned, 27-yard missed field goal. They were not able to take advantage of winning the division. The week prior to that, they lost 38-8 to the Cardinals in a game that they were completely overmatched. And, if the Packers were able to win this game against the Redskins, that's who they would be facing in the next round. So a lot of things would need to be different in order for the Packers to be able to advance to the NFC Championship game. But, they got to get through the Redskins first. After a 5-0 start, Packers went 5-6 for the rest of the season. Offense just didn't seem to click. I mean, at first, when the season started, it looked like Jordy Nelson, who tore his ACL, was out for the season. It looked like he wasn't being missed as much. Packers reeled off 5 consecutive wins. But, you look at Aaron Rodgers, didn't throw many interceptions, but the yardage, the touchdowns aren't, up to par with what he had done in recent seasons. It was expected that Randall Cobb would definitely step up in Nelson's absence, but he really didn't have, the season that many expected of him. And so there's, a lot of question marks for this Packers team. And, it's going to be an interesting game today. Las Vegas definitely believes the same, as they only have Washington favorite by 1 point. So basically a pick 'em. And, I'm looking forward to the game. Should be starting right about the time that this show ends. And even the last game, yes, it was only a 10-9 score, but, very entertaining, close to the end. Minnesota unfortunately missed a lot of opportunities in that game. That missed field goal. Adrian Peterson lost a fumble and 3 field goals instead of, punching it in at least once. They're going to have to look back all off season at what could have been. They could have easily defeated the 2-time defending NFC champions. And, of course, a lot of the blame will be placed on the shoulders of Blair Walsh. But, you got to at least punch in 1 touchdown most of the time in order to win the game. Teddy Bridgewater, Adrian Peterson were not able to do that for the Vikings. Therefore, they will be watching from home the rest of the playoffs, and the Seattle Seahawks will have the opportunity to potentially make the Super Bowl for the 3rd straight years. 2 more wins, 1 against the Panthers, and then 1 against either Cardinals, Redskins, or Packers, and they will have that opportunity. Both of the AFC second-round games are already scheduled. I will get into those later on in the show after the commercial break. Let's get into a few other things, though, before I get into those AFC games. First, let me start with the Royal Rumble. The Royal Rumble, WWE's next pay-per-view. A lot of people's favorite pay-per-view, even more so than WrestleMania, and mostly because of the actual Royal Rumble that takes place in 2 weeks. And this Royal Rumble will be different than many of the others. I believe there's only one time that the Royal Rumble was for the WWE title. Might have been in 1992. I know Ric Flair won that Royal Rumble and became the WWF Heavyweight Champion. Now, Roman Reigns, his on-screen character is beefing with Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon went to jail. Vince McMahon was a special guest referee on Last Raw in his title match against Sheamus. So, it's almost like an Austin Vince Part 2. So, Roman Reigns has been Superman punching Vince McMahon, and Vince McMahon, who hadn't been seen in quite some time, has now been back on the show regularly, probably because of the dwindling ratings that Monday Night Raw has been receiving. They've actually reached all-time lows, and they've slightly improved, so we'll see. And Royal Rumble is actually doing something risky because usually they have their Royal Rumble pay-per-view in the week between the AFC and NFC Championship games and the Super Bowl. This year, it's coinciding with one of the championship games. So, we'll see if that will affect how many people watch the pay-per-view or if they'd rather tune in to watch football. So that we'll have that. I failed to mention, Roman Reigns is defending his title in that Royal Rumble because of, the beef that's going on with him and Vince. Vince decided that he's going to defend that title against 29 other men. And, one of those men may be Brock Lesnar, as Brock Lesnar is scheduled to be on Monday Night Raw tomorrow. And, it's always a special occasion when Brock is on the show. And for those of you that listen that are wrestling fans, I'm a big Social Outcast fan. They debuted last week on Raw. I've always loved Heath Slater. I believe he's one of the funniest guys in the WWE, and I hope they really do something with the Social Outcast team, which is Heath Slater, Bo Dallas, Adam Rose, and Curtis Axel. We'll see what happens with that, though, but definitely entertaining. Bo Dallas is very entertaining as well, but there's also a chance that Brock Lesnar might just destroy all four of them tomorrow. We'll see what happens. And, maybe it's a little too soon to be thinking about this, but the MLB regular season opener is exactly 12 weeks from today, 84 days away. The Chicago Cubs will play in Los Angeles against the Angels. That takes place on April 3rd. So 12 more weeks. May seem like a while, but believe me, it will go rather fast. In hockey, who's the hottest team? Easily the Florida Panthers, led by 43-year-old Jaromir Jagr, and then goaltender Robert Longo is having an amazing season, especially during the course of this win streak, 11 in a row. They were basically a 500 team going into the winning streak. They were 13-12-4. Now they're 25-12-4. So, it's helped a lot. They face the Edmonton Oilers tonight at 9:30, going for 12 wins in a row. In case you're wondering, the all-time NHL record for wins in a row goes to the Pittsburgh Penguins in the 92-93 season. They actually did it towards the end of the season as they reeled in 17 wins in a row going into the final game of that season, which was a 6-6 tie with the New Jersey Devils. Of course, if current rules were going on then in 92-93, they could have had a chance to win in a shootout to make it 18 wins in a row to end the season. But, still an impressive record. That Penguins team did not go on to win the Stanley Cup, by the way, but they had some great players. Mario Lemieux, a young Jaromir Jagr, yes, still was playing in 92-93, and here he is now, I believe, the Panthers' leading goal scorer on the season, over 20-plus years later. What he's doing is absolutely phenomenal. So we'll see. They had Ron Francis, they had Tom Barrasso, I believe they had Rick Tocchet, so they had a lot of Hall of Fame quality players on that team, and Panthers will need 6 more wins in a row to tie it, 7 more in a row to win, to break that record. First opportunity tonight against the Edmonton Oilers. And tomorrow, it's only a day